back today with another video. This time I'm going to be talking about my last trip, the food we ate on it, and why the dining plan doesn't work for my family. Hopefully this will be useful for you to see what people actually eat at Disney World and why the dining plan doesn't make sense for a lot of people. A little bit of a primer on the dining plan. There are 4 levels of the dining plan now. When we went on our trip, there are only 3. There was the quick service dining plan, which gives you 2 quick service credits a day plus 2 snacks per person per day. There's the regular dining plan, which is what most people will get. That's 1 quick service meal and 1 table service meal plus the 2 snacks per person per day. Then there was the deluxe dining plan. That was the 3rd option, which is 3 credits per person per day plus 2 snacks. Those 3 credits could be used on any meal, so that could be a table service or a quick service. And then there is now a 4th dining plan, which is the dining plan plus, which just turns that quick service credit on the regular dining plan into any kind of dining plan credit. So now you can use them for 2 table service restaurants a day, or for 1 each, or for 2 quick service. It gives you a little bit more flexibility, and it costs just a little bit more. So that's kind of the rundown of the dining plan. And now I'm going to go through my trip from 2019 and why the dining plan is not something we use. And it'll hopefully give you a better idea of why I choose not to use it and why I think it doesn't work for a lot of people. So to start off on my trip, we were 3 adults, but one of us doesn't drink. So that does kind of change the value of the dining plan just a little bit. We were going from, sorry, I'm looking over at my laptop to remember this because this was like 2 years ago. We went from March 16th through March 23rd. One thing to note about my family is that we don't really eat dessert ever. So that is also a thing that's included on all table service meals at Disney World, is you get a dessert with your table service meal. You don't get an appetizer, however. That's another thing that isn't helpful for my family because we normally eat appetizers but no dessert. Also, that refillable mug idea really wasn't very appealing to us. We don't really drink like soda, and if we were going to have coffees, we were just going to go and buy a coffee in the morning, so carrying around a mug full of coffee really wasn't very interesting to us. So to start off, we arrived on the 16th. We were meant to arrive at about 3 p.m. and then our departure was delayed about 3 hours, and we had a dining reservation at 6 p.m. We were meant to land at about 3, and because we were delayed 3 hours, we actually landed at about 6 p.m., which was really stressful for me because I'd had this reservation for like 6 months. This is a good tip, is if you are in that situation, just call the Disney reservation hotline, explain the situation. Even if you can't find anything on the app for that night to push your reservation, often they can find something in the system that hasn't been put out in the app yet. So definitely just call and ask, and I was able to push our reservation back to about 9 p.m., which was perfect for us. We got there right in time. We ate at Ohana because we were staying at the Polynesian. That is a 1 table service restaurant, so it's a really good value generally if you're a big eater. So our first day in the park was a Magic Kingdom day. We started off with a $8.50 reservation at Crystal Palace. That is a character meal. It's a 1 table service credit, and it is a buffet where you meet the Winnie the Pooh characters. We generally don't like buffets, but it was a really good buffet, and it was really fun to meet the characters. Then for lunch, we ate Sleepy Hollow. We had footlong corn dogs. I actually shared a corn dog with someone else in my party, so we only purchased 2 quick service meals at that time. Then for dinner, we went to Cosmic Ray Starlight Cafe and had hamburgers. We were really excited to see Sunny Eclipse. That's why we went. I would not recommend going to Starlight Cafe unless you want to see Sunny Eclipse, and even then, you might be better off going to buy food at a different place and then bringing them over to see Sunny Eclipse while you eat. The reason we did a quick service dinner that night is because we had a fireworks dessert party planned, and we didn't want to fill up too much on food so we could enjoy the dessert while we watched the fireworks. The next day, we were at Epcot. We had Leal pastries, so that would have counted as a snack credit for each of us, plus coffee, so we would have been using 2 snack credits on that breakfast. Then for lunch, we had Via Napoli, which is 1 table service credit. Again, I shared a pizza with another person in my party, so we were only eating 2 table service meals, but had we been on the dining plan, we would have still been using 3 table service credits on that meal, even though we were sharing entrees. Then for dinner, we went to Le Cellier Steakhouse, which is a signature restaurant. That's 2 table service credits on the dining plan. It's in the Canada Pavilion. That would have been 2 table service credits each for all of us. So in total, we would have been using 6 table service credits on that one meal. That being said, it is a very expensive meal, so that's actually a fairly good value for 2 table service credits. There are some other signature restaurants on here that I think are not the best uses of 2 table service credits, and we'll see that a little bit later. On our third day, we were at Animal Kingdom. We rope dropped at Animal Kingdom. After that, we went to Starbucks and had coffees. Those would have counted as 3 snacks. Then at lunch, we went to Satuli Canteen and had the build your own bowl meal. That would have been a quick service credit for all of us. That is a really, really great quick service restaurant, especially if you're looking for something a little bit healthier. That was one of the best meals we actually had at Disney World, and it was a quick service credit. So by no means think that being on the quick service dining plan or choosing to eat quick service meals means you're getting worse food. There's really, really good quick service food at Disney World. Then for dinner, we went to Tusker House, which is a 1 table service character buffet. It is a good alternative to Chef Mickey's if you don't want to go to Chef Mickey's because it can be loud. The food is often universally not very good, and getting to the Contemporary can be kind of annoying if you're coming from a different park. It's in Animal Kingdom, which is nice, and you meet almost all of the Fab 5 characters. And they all come out in safari outfits, which is really fun. We found the food at Tusker House to be not particularly good, so I was kind of surprised by that. Our 4th day was our break day. That being said, we did actually eat a couple of Disney World meals that day. We had breakfast at 1900 Park Fair, which is in the Grand Floridian. So that was the best breakfast buffet we had. It was really, really well done. We didn't have lunch that day. I did go down to the quick service restaurant at our resort and have like a quick kind of lunchy type thing. So I suppose that would have counted as a quick service lunch. Then for dinner, we went to Morimoto Asia, which is a 2 table service credit restaurant in Disney Springs. Food, it was really, really good. Also fairly good value for 2 table service credits. Our 4th day in the park, we were at Hollywood Studios. We were there prior to the opening of Star Wars Land. So that's an important distinction. There's a lot more at Hollywood Studios now and many more dining options. We were there kind of shortly after Toy Story Land had opened, so we actually purchased Early Morning Magic in order to get into Toy Story Land. With Early Morning Magic, you have breakfast included. It was fine. I don't think we would have done it had we not had that included in Early Morning Magic. Then for lunch, we were at 50's Primetime Cafe, which is a 1 table service credit restaurant. We really, really liked 50's Primetime. Tonight we went over to Wilderness Lodge and experienced the brand new, at that point, Storybook Dining at Artist's Point. That is a 1 table service credit restaurant at the moment, as far as I know. It's a great value because you meet Snow White and 2 of the dwarves, as well as the evil queen. She will not come to your table though, you have to go up to her, of course, she's a queen. I don't know if we would do it again, but it is a great value because it is a 1 table service credit restaurant because it is so new. Our next day was our last day in the parks, which was very sad. And we just had coffee at Sunshine Tree Terrace. Again, that would have been 3 snacks for our breakfast. For lunch, I had very recently changed a reservation from Liberty Tree Tavern to Skipper Canteen. We loved Skipper Canteen. It was probably one of the most standout meals that we had at the park, which was great because it was only 1 table service credit. Then for dinner, this was our kind of big culminating dinner, we went to Be Our Guest. They have rebuilt the ballroom from Beauty and the Beast down to the ceiling is painted with all of these little cherubs that are actually, fun fact, the faces of the children of the Imagineers who built it. That being said, the food was pretty subpar. The food was kind of disappointing after some really, really great meals. Even Skipper Canteen earlier that day, I think, was better than Be Our Guest, and that's unfortunate because Be Our Guest is now 2 table service credits. Le Cellier, the steakhouse in the Canada Pavilion, is also 2 table service credits. A Le Cellier meal is probably going to be around $100 a person and ends up being a very good credit for 2 table service credits. Be Our Guest is about $55 a person, I believe. When we went, it was that much. It may have gone up, I'm sure it has. So it's about half as much as something like Le Cellier would cost you to go to out of pocket, and the food was significantly below the standard that we ate at Le Cellier, which is really unfortunate, but I would still say that that's kind of a bucket list meal at Disney World. If you're not going to do Cinderella's Royal Table, which I wouldn't really do unless you have children in your party that are excited about meeting princesses, you should be doing Be Our Guest. And then finally, our very last meal at Disney World was the next day. We had a Ohana breakfast. That is actually a character breakfast in the morning. The Ohana breakfast was also not really a standout for us, but it was a good final meal. All right, now let's talk about why the Disney dining plan does not work for this trip specifically. I'm going to go through all 4 levels of the dining plan and tell you why it doesn't work for us. So, to start off, the quick service plan would have cost us $1,155 for the 3 of us for that week-long trip. However, it would have cost us an additional $748 to purchase it over what we would have spent on food normally. And that is because we were paying for 2 quick service credits every day, and we only used 3 quick service credits total. So we're paying for about 7 extra days of food that we were not eating using that quick service plan. So obviously the quick service plan is not a good choice for us. Then with the regular Disney dining plan, which is what most people will be purchasing, it would have cost us $1,638 to purchase it for all 3 of us. But it would actually have cost $161 more for us to purchase that than it would have for us to pay out of pocket. And that is because we had several quick service credits left over. Unfortunately, because we ate so few quick service meals, that 1 quick service a day, we ended up having about 4 extra each, which is not good for getting your full value out of the dining plan. We also would have had to pay for several table service credits out of pocket, would have had to pay for 5 table service meals on top of that cost for the dining plan. So it really doesn't work out for us at all. Then the Disney Dining Plan Plus, which didn't exist when we were going, but we can of course calculate it anyways because that hypothetical trip that would still work now. The Dining Plan Plus would have cost us $1,986. It actually says that it would have saved us $70, but we still would have had to pay for 3 of our meals out of pocket, and we would have had several credits over on the dining plan because we were eating a lot of signature meals. This $70 in savings wouldn't have actually been $70. And this is a difficulty with using an online calculator, is this is completely calculated based on averages, and a computer does all of it and doesn't really take into account the complexities of your family and how your family eats. Because one of us doesn't drink, that $70 is basically already gone on alcohol that was not purchased. We drink a lot of water, so that also none of that kind of soda or signature beverage would have added up to $70. On top of that, often we would share an entree, so at Le Cellier we shared a steak, we shared many quick service meals, we shared a lot of food at the table service restaurants that were a la carte, so a lot of that $70 value is about 3 people ordering 3 entrees, which is not something we would have done. Then we have the deluxe dining plan, which would have cost us $2,500 to purchase for all 3 of us for our week-long vacation. It says in this calculator that it would have cost us an additional $40 to purchase this plan. That being said, like I explained in the last cost calculation, because we shared a lot of entrees and didn't drink a lot of the alcohol that was included, cost is a little bit off because of the specific eating patterns of my family. So don't rely completely on that number because it can be pretty difficult to figure out exactly what you're going to eat. And of course, the vegetarian meal is going to cost a whole lot less than the whole lobster. Don't rely completely on this, but it is a good place to get a ballpark of whether or not the dining plan makes sense for you. The problem with the deluxe dining plan is that we got 3 credits every day, and we didn't eat a signature meal and a table service meal every day, or 3 separate table service meals, which is the way that you make your money on the deluxe dining plan. You can of course use those credits for quick service, but it really isn't a good value in order to pay off and make money on the deluxe dining plan. When we were eating a quick service meal, we were not making our money on that. The days that we didn't eat breakfast, we were not making our money on it. So it really doesn't add up to saving money. And we would have had 9 entitlements remaining on that plan because of those days that we weren't eating breakfast. 9 really adds up to about 1 day's worth each for food, so we weren't eating the full allotment every day. So that's why the dining plan doesn't work for my family, and hopefully this was helpful to see kind of what a family really eats on the dining plan. And at Disney World, it can be really difficult to figure out how much you're going to eat. Main tips for figuring out what you're going to eat and what you're going to want to eat is don't completely change your diet at Disney. If you are a person who normally doesn't eat breakfast, don't force yourself to eat breakfast because you purchased the deluxe dining plan and now you have to eat breakfast. If you're a family that normally shares an entree at like a steakhouse, don't order a third steak just because you're on the dining plan, because then you're going to be forcing yourself to eat a steak. If you are a person that normally doesn't drink a beer with lunch, don't start buying a beer at Disney World because you feel like you have to make your money back on the dining plan. Now, my one tip for this is those snacks you probably will eat if you're walking around and hungry. If you're budgeting your snacks purely for breakfast and you're not having anything during the day, that might not work out for you to get all of your snacks done. But we easily ate 2 snacks a day at Disney World. And that isn't counting the kind of breakfast snacks that we would have bought as coffees. We were easily eating 2 different things every day because we were walking a lot more than we normally do. That's also something to keep in mind, is think about how much you eat on a day that you're very active. And that's a more realistic representation of what you're going to eat at Disney World than what you eat on a day when you're just sitting at home. Because you're burning so many calories walking so much around the park, you're going to have to fill up a little bit more than you normally eat. So do keep that in mind while planning how much you're going to eat at Disney World. But something like a calculator on your computer, I use DizTripPlanner.com. The one problem with this is that it's making assumptions that when you check include alcohol, everyone's drinking alcohol. When you check how many appetizers or desserts you're having, that's every day, which is not always. And it's also assuming how much it's going to cost for you to eat at every restaurant. And of course, if you're a vegetarian, it's going to be less. If you're a person that eats surf and turf at every meal, it's going to be more. So there are some assumptions made, but it is a good place to start getting a ballpark. Hopefully this was useful. I'm also going to be starting a Plan With Me series for my next trip. I think a lot of people are kind of longing to go to Disney World right now, especially with the world. So hopefully we can all kind of start planning together. So I'll see you soon. Bye.